Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Young Guns of HiFi. My name is Stephen Rochlin of Enjoy the Music. We are here with Brannan of Noble, Arnold of
Greek Studio,
Greek Studio,
West and Chicago. Yeah. We just opened another store.
Warren Chi of Cavalli,
Hey.
Leif of von Schweikert. You guys probably have never seen this guy, but he's Matt Weisfeld of VPI.
Hey guys.
And Stephanie of that new company called CAF. They're like a new upstart. Well, it's Young Guns, and we gotta hand it off to the guys, doing the upstarts. I'm gonna let them say a little about themselves, but we will start with ladies first, being gentlemen. So Stephanie, it's all yours.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Scola. I do the marketing for KEF in North America, so that's Canada, US, and Latin America. And I've been with them for 11 years. And I think primarily they wanted me to join the team because I'm a musician, and I'm a specialist in online marketing and consumer behavior. So we study what people are doing and what they're interested in, in this industry and music. So here I am, and we're talking about HiFi today. So that's me.
Oh, you're the only lady on here, so okay, nice. Well, I'm Matt Weisfeld, VPI Industries, the second generation of the company. And about 5 years ago, I would have said that there's no way in the world I'd be involved in this wonderfully crazy industry or sitting here. And now I love it. I love doing all of this stuff, making turntables, finding ways to get it in the hands and homes and of anybody, everybody, so we can all enjoy music. And I've been trying to take the company on a different path, more consistency, more streamlines, and just be able to open up every avenue. I mean, like streaming this. And that's me.
Okay.
Leif Swanson, von Schweikert Audio. I'm one of the designers, also vice president of the company and founder of Endeavor Audio Engineering. Endeavor Audio and von Schweikert are now one company, so we're merged together, so all products are by von Schweikert, but Endeavor is its own product line. So that's about it.
Hey guys, I'm Warren Chi. I'm the current CEO of Cavalli Audio. We make headphone amplification. Before that, I guess audio press, writing for a wide variety of publications, Positive Feedback, Part-Time Audiophile, Headphone Guru, probably a few others I can't quite remember right now. But yeah, I'm essentially a personal audio specialist here. So.
Arnold Martinez, Tweak Studio. We just recently opened a location coming from Chicago. We still have our location in Chicago, in Playa del Rey in California. And we sell about 35 to 40 different brands. We specialize in smart homes and also 2-channel. We try to take the projects we do to a different level by fine-tuning them and maximizing the performance of each component that we sell to our clients. So that's what we do, and more.
Hey, my name is Brannan, and for those who don't know, I have a small company by the name of Noble Audio, and we specialize in universal and custom fit in-ear monitors. And so I'm kind of the business side and the marketing side, and my partner runs product development and product design.
Thank you, everyone. And of course, I would like to thank everyone in the audience for attending. We definitely appreciate it. So the Young Guns of HiFi, we've got marketers, we've got press/audio. The purpose here, in my opinion, is that audio is great, been around a long time, but I'm sure we've all noticed in the past, say, few years or so, there's been some interesting changes. One of them, of course, is the internet and the economy there. Recent studies have shown that actually almost half of the audio consumers are under the age of, I believe it's 35 or thereabouts. So while some of the older, let's say 55, 65 and older, actually they're reducing, according to the survey, their spending in audio. No one can argue that turntables, for example, have definitely seen an uptick, as had vinyl with the younger generation, as have in-ear monitors. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing, the kids with their headphones or in-ear monitors. And then we also have, KEF. Here's a company that have been around for what seems like forever, but as Stephanie will tell us, and we're going to let you go first, Stephanie, how you've seen KEF, go from, their standard speakers they've had, since the dawn of time in audio, it seems, to now going with some really stylistic speakers, even a really great Bluetooth speaker. And so with that said, Stephanie, you're the marketing kind of an expert here and one of the young guns. Preach on.
Okay, very good. And I came prepared with notes, I just want you to know. So,
Yeah, none of you guys.
We're being shown up by a girl.
oh.
Oh,
Well, it's a very exciting time in our industry right now. What we do as a company is, and my team at KEF, we're studying consumer behavior on all of the different web properties that we own. And we do this in a variety of ways. We want to know who's, we're trying to get the word of KEF out. I think the brand is a lot bigger in Europe than it is in the US, so we are really trying to get the brand out. That's the purpose of living for our marketing department. So we need to know who is looking at what and why and where they're coming from and what their interests are. And we study this all day. And it's very interesting when we break up the age brackets over the last 3 years, the movement and the interest is very interesting. And it's broken up by 18 to 24 category, the 25 to 34 category, and then, of course, the 35 to 44 demographic. And primarily what we're seeing right now is throughout the 18 to 24 and the 25 to 34 age groups, these people are, and it's really interesting, their interests are in, particularly the younger group, apparel, cars, auto parts, staffing and recruitment, jobs. But then when they start getting into audio, they're interested in computers, pro audio, and then they started kind of getting into general speakers. And a lot of it is around more stylistic products, colors, portable audio, things that are cool, things that they've seen from influencers on the internet. And as they go up in age group, the interests sort of change. So even with a bunch of my friends, we're really into, because I'm a musician, so a lot of my friends are doing their own recording. And they're recording onto vinyl and they're recording onto cassettes even. And those kind of mediums are starting to have a resurgence. So what does KEF do and what do the other brands do to stay relevant? Because a lot of what, I have a really young team at the office. They are, 24 to 30. And their feedback to me on, what we do was really interesting. They love music, obviously, as we most of us do, right? And their experience, they know that there's something really amazing about high-end audio. But when they tried to learn about it from either a hi-fi shop, maybe a shop that's been in business for 30 plus years, their experience was not a pleasant one in that they weren't able to, the person who owned the shop, I guess, wasn't willing to teach them what was so cool about it, why they should spend and invest in something more expensive. Could we look at something around, over $500 to that demographic as what we call an aspirational spend? So they're aspiring to save up for this product because they know it's good, but right now and at the time where they're living, it's just not a necessity. But as you get older and you look at the interests of what we call in-market demographics, so it's kind of these people are in the market to buy. And as they go up in age, they're starting to get into, luxury travel, hotel accommodations, housing, buying a house. And so what's going on in their life really reflects on what kind of products that they're buying. So a younger demographic like 18 to 24, they're buying, the headphones and something cool, something very trendy. But then as they get older, they realize they want something more. They're aspiring to save up. Like we all do. I mean, I do that. I'm still waiting for my mega awesome purse that I can't ever afford in my lifetime, or that car that I want, So, so as KEF, we're trying to introduce more affordable, but still, in the ethos of what KEF does, more affordable hi-fi that will introduce in a friendly way and in a fun way to the younger consumer, which is it's going to keep our industry alive. And I think a lot of the other people on this panel are doing the same thing. And I love the affordable audio section of this show. I love this show because people can go and buy, records and then go upstairs and listen to them. And it's such a community. And marketing that community to a younger audience is really going to keep us going long term.
Now, would you say, because something I've seen in studies is the younger generation are looking for experience as well. So, like you said, aspirations, hoping to get better. Would you also say they're looking for something that fits into their more modern decor and as an experience of music?
Yeah, as they get older, when we get to the 34 demographic, they're now starting to get a little bit more grounded and appreciate a brand and the style and the aesthetic, which is a lot of the reason why we employ famous industrial designers to make something that's less than traditional, but we also do offer traditional looking products too, because there's a flavor for everybody, which is important to have, I think. Not one thing is going to fit everybody. So I think that's important. But yeah, I mean, even when like the 34 category, that's when you start seeing people really searching specifically for brands. You've come this far and now you're like, okay, I know what I want. I know what I'm interested in. I really want to look up this specific brand and see what they have that I can get right now. So that's a lot of what we're seeing.
Well, thank you. Now, Matt actually has been very humble. He's actually a second generation because his dad, Harry, began VPI with mom, family-oriented, Joyzy boy, love you. And so here he is, a young guy who was actually teaching, high school kids, I believe?
Yeah, in college.
And college. So he was around this, and he got drawn in, and turntables are having this, great resurgence with the young'uns, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah.
So tell people how you've catered to that and kept VPI strong.
Well, essentially, what Steve's saying about where I was initially, and I made the joke about how 5 years ago I never would have thought I'd be here, and I really mean that. I was very happily teaching high school web design, animation, and 3D modeling. 3D modeling, ironic. And doing the same in college as well. And I also taught younger children, teaching them martial arts. So pretty much every aspect of my life was actually teaching every age range, from the 4-year-old kid that was wanted to learn martial arts to the high school kid, student, to in college. I mean, I taught adults as well, and got to really learn that with everything, because computers. Initially, web design, especially when I was doing it, you have the HTML coding, which is not romantic. It's boring. But then it occurred to me that as they learned what it was, as they saw what they can do with it and understand it, they made it their own, which then ties into VPI. My mom was a teacher also, and she really is the inspiration that brought me in. My dad, of course, as well, because whether I liked it or not, I was going to the factory. And I was that kid that would play with the peanuts. And so they must have all been a little worried about me. Like, wee, these peanuts. So, yeah, definitely, CEO material there. But my mom used to be a teacher. And after she had died, because, again, she had run the office, my dad had run the factory. And initially it was out of responsibility. And I just saw how much there was with this, the passion, the love, how much everyone was into the music, into what was real. And what I felt was missing was the education. And people ask me all the time, like, do you miss teaching? And I do, but at the same time, I feel like I still am teaching, that this is just a larger classroom. I love having dealer training events. Actually, about 3 years ago, we started that. And the first one we had about 50 dealers that came in to learn every piece. We do seminars for cleaning a record. And the coolest moment, actually there's a couple of cool moments like this, where we set up about 15 cleaning machines, told everyone about it, they brought their records, and this 14-year-old kid came in with his dad to clean his records. And the dad, he was like, I sold my records years ago. And the son was so excited, like, wow, we get to clean our records, we get to learn this stuff. And honestly, at the end of it, they ended up buying a cleaning machine because they understood that. And we didn't do a huge comparison because we just used what we had, but we used a VPI player, which is an entry-level product. We used, I believe, a Riva. Well, whatever. We used we did a little comparison. We cleaned a dirty record. We cleaned it. We listened to a dirty record, then we cleaned it. Then we listened to it again. Then there was that light bulb of, oh wow, this stuff works. And I kind of feel like it's all full circle because that happened to my dad. My dad didn't want to be in this industry either. He was just a hobbyist. He was a sheet metal mechanic. He was moonlighting at audio stores, and then he accidentally meets Harry Pearson, who has him listen to a record before and after being cleaned. So if you think about it, tying back to the young guns and getting the next generation, VPI started because of education. And I think VPI and this industry can grow and continue with educating the next generation and all of us in general. Some people were, while setting up tables, a number of people were like, oh man, this is way too complicated. I don't know. And they're like, oh hey, it's not so bad.
Now, if I might interrupt, what new products have VPI released recently to reach this audience?
Oh yeah, the new one was originally branded as the Nomad. We recently rebranded it as the Player, and the Player is supposed to be the entry-level, high-end Happy Meal. It has a headphone amp in it. It has a phono stage built in it. It has a machined aluminum platter. It has a gimbaled yoke arm that literally you could take. That's right. That was you. I almost got in trouble. Yeah. Montreal, they're really nice there until you break their stuff. Let me tell you. You take a tone arm and you slam it into the wall and leave a mark, they're not so happy anymore. It's suddenly it's another story. But we try to make products that is bulletproof so that the entry-level user gets a good experience. Now, I love all these entry-level turntables. There was actually a time when I was in an audio. You were there also, those HiFi buys. And I actually helped a competing company sell their table. And they're like, Matt, why did you just do that? Because I want them to have a good experience. Whether it's a VPI or not, I just want it to be a turntable, a analog experience that's not going to be like, oh, crap, this thing broke. I am done. Get me out of here. So with the Player, we made it so that it's ready out of the box. I don't even listen to headphones. Sorry, guys.
No,
I'll slap him for you guys.
But I will say that a meaningful headphone moment, and a turntable company thinking about that. I mean, I leave the headphone stuff to the guys that do this, but as a little bit of a starting flavor, there was one night. I live in an apartment, like most people, at small apartment getting started in life, and at 9 o'clock, you better turn down that system, or you're getting a knock on the door, or you're getting a phone call. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. I really want to spin some Red Hot Chili Peppers. So my better half, Jane, if you're watching, I'm talking to you. No, she wakes up. She thinks I'm dead. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on the floor with a pair of headphones, and I'm like a happy idiot. She sees the feet on the ground. Like, Matt? Just sees the feet. Like, oh my God, he's dead! And there I am, 2 o'clock in the morning, enjoying my records, blasting, and I couldn't even hear her. And I was able to have that experience, just like the person living in Brooklyn in that small apartment who wants to listen to their vinyl, but will get hell if they're blasting it too loud.
And we're definitely seeing that with a lot of the young kids that headphone. Let's go to Leif, and then we'll get to some of the headphone and all that. So, Leif, take it away.
What do you want to know?
Winning number to next week's lottery?
Oh, okay. Wish I knew that.
Why we're here. How von Schweikert is, besides they make very expensive speakers, but they've also really expanded their line over the years. I mean, I remember when you only had like one or a few models, and now you guys have expanded out.
We have too many models. And then especially, von Schweikert acquired Endeavor Audio, so now we have the Endeavor product line. But it's been an interesting shift that, from our perspective of how we've seen the market change. It seems that there are a tremendous amount of buyers in the 60,000 and up price bracket for speakers, or 15,000 and under. So with like the Endeavor E3 Mark II and our Unifield 2 speakers, both of those are under, you know, they're 10,000 and under. Sales has been really good with those models. But what we've been working on now is our new Ultra flagship line, and so every model is actually one of our new flagships, and they're expensive. I mean, the Ultra 9 starts at 175,000, but there's been a market for this, and it's kind of strange. We want to focus on more affordable speakers, but it's complicated. I mean, everything's made here in Southern California. The cost to manufacture is outrageous, and so unfortunately for us, affordable, we're looking at, you know, minimum of $8,000, you know, for a three-way floor standing speaker. But it's been interesting, and I'd have to say probably 30% of our sales is probably to previous von Schweikert owners that have upgraded into the next line of speakers. But yeah. It's strange. We don't see a lot of people buying in between the, say, 20 to
30. Yeah, it seems to be, my wife and I, we travel the world a lot. And whether it's, I don't know if you ever seen years ago, the rich kids of Instagram, or my wife and I traveled, went to Kuala Lumpur, Singapore. And what I've noticed is some of the younger people who, let's say, either inherited or .com people or whatnot, they really at times do want these really expensive statement pieces. So, you know, there is a thing where, you know, you have the headphones or maybe something relatively reasonable, and then you have, you know, these younger generation that really want this top of the line, full experience of this is the best.
It's a little bit out of control.
At times, yeah, but
I didn't expect that we would be working on, you know, $175,000, $295,000, and $550,000 speakers.
And your first set of, what is it, $200,000 speakers are actually going to?
Okay. So
Asia.
the Ultra 11 is debuting, making its world debut in at the International Sight and Sound Show in Singapore. It's a monster.
But the point is, there's, you know, I know that we're right now in the United States of America in Denver, but as an industry, we do have to think worldwide, and as such, there's also plenty of money in these interesting little places, and they, you know, some of the younger generation or somehow do want these reference or statement pieces.
Well, as Stephanie said, I believe she was saying that the majority of the sales are overseas, and for us, it's the same. It's overseas that the majority of our sales takes place. So.
Yeah. So, okay, we will.
So why isn't the middle there?
I wish I knew.
Why isn't the middle? It's. I don't want to get into.
For speakers
I
or
don't wanna-
overall?
Yeah, I don't want to segue into a whole thing about economics and central banking and currencies. But there does definitely seem to be a past few years occurrence where the middle ground has kind of dried up for some reason. But again, that's a different discussion. After this seminar, I'd be more than happy to go deeper into that with you. Let's go to Warren, who definitely hits into the younger generation.
Yeah, before I start, I have a quick question for you, Leif.
Yeah.
At what age have you seen kind of an uptake?
Actually, I wish I knew the answer to that. I don't. I mean, I deal mostly with our dealers and distributors. So that side of the industry, I don't really get to see.
Okay.
You know, fortunately, when someone buys our speakers and stuff, you know, we'll see posts and things that they make, but I have no
You don't
idea.
exactly
but
gather
yeah,
demographic data
I
at
don't
that
know what the
point, right.
ages are, and I wish I knew.
Okay. Well, so this is an area that I've actually been pretty fascinated with over the years. And just to kind of pick up on something that Stephanie said earlier, there's a societal shift going on right now where people are essentially delaying life, okay? You'll find students in college increasingly over a period of 5 years, sometimes more than the traditional 4 years that we're familiar with. They start work later. They start taking gap years. So they get they start their careers later. They get married later. They have children later. Everything gets pushed back. At some point, they can actually start buying some decent two-channel gear, but what they don't have the money for is the house. because you can't, if you don't have a listening room, it doesn't matter what you buy, right? You're not going to be listening to it. So the good news is that the appreciation of great sound is not dead. It's not even close. It's just that people can't get to that point soon enough. So what do? We obviously, we can't tell them don't listen, right? So they go out and they start investing in very, very expensive personal audio rigs. And what I mean by very expensive personal audio rigs are sometimes costing in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but generally speaking, about $10,000 to $15,000 is what you're looking at as far as a decent spend on that. Now, here's some interesting information for you guys. The price of the average headphone sale has been increasing over the past decade or so. And over the course of the past decade, people are now spending about $12 more for a headphone than they used to. Now you're thinking, big deal, $12, what is that? Well, $12 over an annual volume of 470 million units winds up being market value of $5.64 billion more.
That's billion.
This is not a fad, this is not a flash in the pan. There's a clear trend over the past 10 years. So one of the things that we've clued in on, we obviously make, for those of you that know us, we make some pretty expensive headphone amps, ranging anywhere previously from $3,000 to, I don't know, $4,500, $5,000. We're actually seeing a pretty decent increase in sales. They want the gear, they want the great sound, they can't afford the listening room, and so they can't afford the 2-channel rig to go with it. But they can afford headphones, which don't require the room, which don't require room treatments. They're not speakers, obviously. You're never going to get the visceral impact that you get from speakers. But headphones do have a special trick up their sleeve, which is that generally speaking, you get a lot more detail out of them, fine detail. So there's a slightly different kind of appreciation of sound than there used to be. But it exists, and the desire is still there, and you know, some of the younger guys that are our customers, they want to slay dragons just as anyone else, right? As much as anyone else, they just need to work up to get better sword, you know, better horse, better armor to go and slay that dragon. Now, I do see a couple of our customers out, and I won't embarrass you guys by revealing who you are, but if I just did a quick...
Their smiles just did.
Quick shout out.
That's me.
Yeah, no, but these are quintessential customers. They buy headphone rigs. They buy, in many cases, the same things that, you know, should be bought, right? They buy sources, they buy transports and everything else, and then it gets to the very end where they buy a headphone amp, and of course their transducer is different. But just a quick shout out, what is your age for you three right there?
30, 34, 35.
They're buying, they want the sound, they love the music, they're here sitting in this audience, obviously, which takes a certain level of, you know, interest and dedication.
Mm-hmm.
The young crowd does love music, and they love great sound, and headphones are one way that they choose to go about it.
And if you think about it this way, okay, we all remember when, well, some of us old guys remember when Sony introduced the Walkman,
Yeah.
but these dedicated headphone amplifiers to where they're at today, or headphones that are the price, this was non-existent, really, what, just 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, in a broad sense now. So this is an entirely...
Well, let's be clear about
fairly-
this. There was a time when headphones sucked. Right? I'm not here to
Yes,
preach for headphones.
well-
I mean, there was a time when you couldn't get me to put on a pair of headphones and convince me that it was going to be good, but
Yeah.
they've gotten much better.
So it's really interesting. We're going to skip over you, Arnold, just for a second and go to actually one of my favorite custom in-ear monitors. I have a set. My wife
Rose
has
gold.
a set. This is, again, in a sense, something new. I mean, you would see these with musicians, and as a musician myself, I remember before this, like you said, headphones weren't that great, plus I'm a drummer, and headphones don't work when you're with a monster drum set. That's something that, in a sense, you know, the musicians first went to help save their hearing. I mean, you're up front stage, but now we're seeing audiophiles and really high-end, awesome quality, like Noble Audio's in-ear monitors. Why don't you go ahead and tell them about, you know, your demographics, the young kids, even famous people.
Yeah, so one of the things that me and my partner did when we started Noble was that because we don't have a professional background in music or a live sound background, we decided that we were going to design in-ear monitors for enthusiasts and lifestyle customers and regular consumers. What you'll find with a lot of our competitors is that they cater specifically to musicians. And so we've kind of had the pleasure of, you know, making a name for ourselves with regular people, and also kind of introducing a lot of people to what a really high quality earphone essentially could be. Going off of what Warren was saying about people not having listening rooms, we definitely find this to be the case. Our largest markets are in Asia, like Tokyo, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea, and you know, not only do these people not have you know, the money for the listening room and things like that. Generally speaking, they lack space in general, and they're also on the go quite a bit. And a lot of them utilize public transportation, train systems, and things of that nature. And so having something that's truly portable, that isolates like a headphone or a custom in-ear monitor that you can take with you, and the experience remains unchanged no matter whether you're sitting at home or if you're on the train or you're in the park, is really essential. And so, you know, our products really aren't necessarily that expensive relative to headphones and speakers and things like that. We started about $400 and we go up to about $2,000. And if you wanted to, you could use our products directly out of a phone. They're very efficient, easy to drive products. Certainly if you use an amp or you use a DAC or something like that, you can get better sound quality. But even just directly out of the phone, you do get a much superior experience than you would with a lot of other, you know, lower end earphones. And you know, we're very lucky to be able to kind of be that next step for a lot of people who are coming up.
You bring up an excellent point. As my wife and I travel the world, there are a lot of places where, you know, while some of us might live somewhere or have the finances to have a listening room to put big speakers, a lot of people in the world, in certain parts especially, and it could even be San Francisco or New York City, you know, these houses are very expensive, so maybe they rent and maybe they have roommates, and something like custom in-ear monitors, and the other advantage, like you said, is they're on the go, whether I'm in an airplane. And one advantage that you didn't mention is I fly a lot, and if you've ever flown, even wearing headphones, which are awesome, but you put in in-ear monitors and they isolate the outside sound, and for me it also helps with the pressure differences. So if you have a problem with like the pressure changes while flying, custom in-ear monitors like those by Noble Audio, besides the great sound that it is, I don't know how I could ever fly in an airplane again without your products. Seriously. No, I'm
No, I'm
so
with you
the
on
small
that.
room, there's so many other benefits, and again, these young kids, that's, you know, they travel, they're on the subway, they're on the, you know, it used to see many years ago, people just be on the subway, whatever, now you see them doing this, and whatever. So, I want to say some of the new developments that you've done to reach, I mean, like the designs, that's the other thing, is the kids want to make it their own. Why don't you tell them, I mean, the beautiful artwork you do to your product, people
Yeah, so
make it their own.
My partner has been in like the in-ear monitor kind of space for about 10 years, and one of the things that he did, my partner's a doctor of audiology, so he's very familiar with hearing aid technology, which is where a lot of our stuff is borrowed from, and also like the manufacturing processes. So he really understood, or he really understands, you know, obviously how to make a piece, but at the time when he started, the pieces didn't look very good. But coming from the hearing aid world, he knew that there was potential. And so one of the things that he did was he really pioneered the use of kind of more unusual and exotic materials. So like we do a lot of work with exotic wood, and we do carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb from like aerospace stuff, and gold nugget. So not only do we have like the sound quality that's kind of appealing to like more of a lifestyle consumer and like or an enthusiast, we also have like a certain like aesthetic, and you know, if you're spending $1,000+ on a pair of earphones, they ought to look good as well. And
Right, they're like, I mean, for my wife, it's like a fashion accessory. Hers have a pink lotus flower. So it's another way to further express themselves as well, which is something like with Kef. You know, they now have products in different colors and style designs, because people don't want just another fill in the blank color box that's just black. You know, it's like any color Ford T, Model T, anything you want, as long as it's black. Not anymore. Now colors, designs, even watch pieces. So if you're really into mechanical watches or other things, some of the cool designs you guys do, oh, I love it. And last up, we'll go to Arnold, who's really the retail side of this. So he's, we'll call him the direct consumer face of, and his, you know, customers, some of them have younger, and why don't you tell them about what they want, how their home decor is, you know, what they're seeking.
I think these days that's very important, and thanks for mentioning that, that when a person is investing an X amount of money, looks becomes a very important part of what people are investing in, whether you're spending $100 on a pair of headphones or $300 for a pair of speakers. I feel and believe that the products that we choose, that we sell at Tweak Studio, it's something that I would be able to choose and put and hear for that price point. So what we believe in Tweak Studio is we like to choose products for each price point that we can offer confidently to clients, that if I can put it in my living room, if this is the budget I have, then it's something I can recommend. So I have a lot of manufacturers, and obviously I work with a lot of manufacturers, and we tend to combine, and we, as all of you guys have, this is a hobby and you experiment, and I learn from clients myself. But okay, this cable sounds really good with this, and this did not go with this, and sometimes I'll have a manufacturer that tell me, why are you selling this cable? Well, this cable sounded better with this, and this one didn't. I would be not honest to my clients to just push a product. So what we want to do is we stock the products in our listening rooms. We try to stock everything. I mean, we've got speakers that are, you've got speakers that are what, $500,000. We can't stock everything. So we also get support from most of our manufacturers. So if there's a client that would need to listen to an X amount of days for a particular product, we request that. We want to put it in their living room or the actual listening area for them to experience it. I mean, buying, after all, is an experience. If you don't have the experience, why should you buy the product if you're not getting goosebumps for that price point? And you know, I'm very happy to be able to work with a lot of the industry people here, because I started as a hobby in my living room. And then from there, it evolved into getting a store downtown in Chicago, and after a few years after that, I opened just recently one in California, in Playa del Rey. So we're not an online store. We want our clients to be able to experience product they invest in. And my vision for each client is we want to maximize the performance of your investment. But obviously each client will have different visions and different goals to achieve. Some people would go digital, some people will go analog, music servers, and now we have many different sources that are available to us. So that's what we try our best, and we try to work with the best.
Can I make a quick comment?
Of course.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So,
Go ahead, it's open now. Go.
okay. So for many years, I've been mixing large-scale concerts. These in-ear monitors, I remember when they first came out, and even my wife and I, we were both professional musicians, and I remember when we first put these in-ear monitors on, I mean, it's like you had to grab them, just throw them across the stage. I mean, we liked floor wedges, we liked side fill speakers. That was something everybody was accustomed to. But over a period of time, you can't beat in-ear monitors in live performance on stage. You really can't. And then as the in-ear monitors got better and better, it allowed the sound engineer actually to have the musicians reduce their stage volume, because now they have in-ear monitors, so they're getting that full sound. The sound quality of concerts actually has, I mean, it has really become much better. Now there's been some pretty severe advancements in pro audio and line array PA systems and stuff like that, but these in-ear monitors has made a huge impact onto the sound quality of the overall performance of these venues. So
Yes,
now I don't want a floor wedge. I mean, I can't go anywhere without in-ear monitors. So anyway.
I feel the same way when I'm playing the drums and I have the ears on. I can actually like hear, and it's like.
What'd you have before though? Big 18 in horns or 15 in horns behind you?
You guys get. Actually, we had a very large amplifier with vintage tannoy dual concentric gold
Yeah,
monitors.
tannoy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dad was actually in the high-end audio, and I'm halfway ashamed to admit that I grew up to what I thought was a normal stereo, which was, yes, the vintage tannoy gold monitors, Gerard turntable, variety of really tweaky high-end amps. But that was
Stuff
normal.
they all grew
That's
up
what
with.
Dad had. So, yeah. Was there any other quick comments, or should we go to questioning? I'm sure there's got to be one or two questions, so I will take my mic and I will play the runaround guy. So,
what motivates each of you to participate in the industry and try to work towards the change that you hope for?
Great question.
Ladies first. No one else is going to say anything. I was sitting here while everyone was talking, and I was thinking about, and I don't want to be, I hate when you go to a panel and everybody's just kind of trying to sell their own stuff, so I'm really trying not to do that. But I love KEF because everyone that works there is a musician, and I got into this because I'm a musician. And KEF's sister company is Celestion, which makes all the speaker drivers that you'd find in like
I got
Fender
those
and
on my
Marshall.
guitar cabinet.
And so I guess what motivates me in general is there's a reason why this world exists, and it's not something that the mass market doesn't understand why high-end audio exists, just like what you were saying. So rich people are always going to be rich generally, but what about the rest of us? Why can't we have something as amazing as a pair of $224,000 speakers that I can afford? And the answer is you can. But you know, I just want to get the word out there that you can have this more amazing experience than the earbuds that came with your iPhone. And not to say that that's not bad. It's just, you know, you're missing out on so much. You know, even with I've been listening to the same albums for years, and I'll take it and listen to the same album on something, and just be like, wow, you know, I can't believe I've never heard this thing. And that's obviously everybody's had that experience, I hope. So that's what drives me, is just spreading the word as to, you know, what you could have if you just, you know, learned a little bit more about it. You know, if you just invested a little bit more time and effort.
Are we going over?
I don't know. Are we just going right down the line, or does someone want to jump in first?
I could-
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Refresh me. The origin.
What motivates you to
Oh.
invest your time in the industry to see the change that you hope for?
Oh, well, a lot of it is I like the community. So this is where I kind of deviate from the whole headphone and the in-ear monitors, all that stuff, because I like the community aspect. I like the fact that with the 2-channel, I could never get into the headphone because I always felt like nobody likes me listening to my headphones. But when I got my turntable, like, my friends used to come over and we'd play Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, whatever. And we still do, but now we make it into a drinking game. But now they come over. Instead of us doing that, we're staring at the turntable. We're just having a good time. We're enjoying it together. It becomes a community aspect of it. And I feel like you can't really, I shouldn't say it like that. I like the growing community factor of it. I often say that with this industry, I just wear my heart on my sleeve. What I say is really just what I mean. You know, if I get something wrong, I'm human. I screw up. It happens. But I really, my parents got involved with this because they loved this industry. They loved music. I got involved because I loved my parents, and then it turned into me loving this industry. And also, a little bit of a shout out to the guys at VPI. I love making stuff. I love the fact that, and again, nothing against overseas stuff. There's a lot of quality things made overseas. But I love walking into the factory and seeing my guy Richie, my floor manager, building a Prime. My guy Jan making a classic. Leo, who has been with us for the past 40 years, making like some crazy thing that I don't even know what the hell he's doing. But
It looks interesting.
it looks interesting. Yeah, it's just.
Would you call yourself an engineering geek? Mr. Robot, Mr. Robots. Oh, I'm guilty. Heather
Yeah.
will.
You
My
know,
wife will. Yeah.
it's like I go in the back. I go in the back, and there's my electrical engineer, Mike Bettinger, working on the newest way to make something efficient. And then my dad goes in there, throws a curveball just because. My guy, Mark, who is a former student of mine, and actually I've employed about 12 students, former students, and they're the best because they're like, so open and like to like learn this stuff and jump in and enthusiastic. And just the whole team is like a fraternity. And we're here making this stuff. When we went to the Capitol Audio Fest show, we actually brought a workstation of the player, and we all made them publicly, showed it to them again, made in America, and then my guy Jan signed it underneath, and it's like, holy crap, you really made this. I really want that. It's a tangible. It's a feeling. You look at that, and now it's gone from just being that piece.
That plastic box you bought at the big box store.
Yeah, and even just as far as so that's like my main. I'm like sorry to go off on a bunch of different side things, but my main motivation is the love of music, the love of making stuff, and the love of just having a team that. I mean, I wake up and even on our worst day, I can't wait to get in there and just start working with the guys.
Cool.
So I'm going to jump to a thing in history real quick. So when Albert von Schweikert was a professional musician on tour with Neil Diamond, and there was an old Altec Lansing PA system. That's what they had, and Albert didn't like the way it sounded. So what he ended up doing is he ended up building another enclosure, and he had 4 JBL 10-inch mid-range drivers in there, and he designed a crossover for it. So now it was an Altec blended with cabinet that Albert put in there, and they were using this on tour. And at the end of the tour, Neil Diamond went up to Albert and he said, you're a pretty good guitar player. You're okay, but you're a great speaker builder. That's kind of what started Albert into building and designing speakers. For me, this is a hobby. The only difference is that we're trying to market the products. It's a challenge to do both and not lose the sight that this is a hobby. Some people ask, well, what do you do all day? And I'm like, well, I listen to music. But it's kind of the same thing. The role that I play now with von Schweikert is difficult for me because someone will send a pair of speakers back. They want to get an upgrade. They want to get a mod. So I leave the office and I run back there. I want to do it. And, my partner, Damon, Albert's son, Damon von Schweikert, so he's like, dude, you have to delegate. You have to let this go. And I'm like, no, just let me do it. So they're fighting to keep me out of the back because that's really what I love to do. I love to build, love to design, and it's always this quest, what can we do? How can we make it better? So that's the battle I'm fighting right now.
Yeah, it's actually a very similar experience. If I were to sum it up in one sentence, it would be simply that I cannot unhear what I've heard.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I know there's better out there, and I love music. I'm obsessed with sound quality, and I want to share that with as many people as I can. I started as a hobbyist actually, and I'm part of this community called HiFi, as are some of you out there. And it's where we get together and we just share our listening experiences with whatever gear we have at whatever range. And in that community, you have people that they come together because of this, but they wind up becoming lifelong friends, and they find out other interests that they have, and it really, you just make wonderfully good friends. As far as what motivates me, to think that I would have a role and a responsibility and be able to produce this great sound that I love and to share that with other people, it's a responsibility and it's a blessing. And it's at the risk of sounding a little funny, it's kind of living the dream a little bit. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. I just wouldn't.
No, I totally agree with you there. I think what inspires me to still be in this industry, and I don't think I'll be doing anything else for the rest of my life except doing what I'm doing. Reason being is I walked into a store before having no knowledge of anything about audio. And a salesman, and I still remember his name, and This was in Chicago when I was back in high school, and I was only about 17 years old. I walked into this store. They had really expensive gears. I won't mention the name, but they're in the hundreds of thousands. I couldn't afford it, and I had $300 in my pocket. That's the only budget I had, and the only thing they had there that I could afford was, I can mention that brand, it was NAD. And I go, okay, I'll buy this. I just need to really walk in and just bring something home and try it out. And after getting that experience, I'm like, so there are better stuff for the same price points. And then I really wanted to go in that room, and I was just so, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to go into that room. And they had really expensive gear. And the salesman told me, you know what? That's really expensive. It's like, he's telling me you can't afford it. Then I keep going back into that store for some reason, and then another salesman came up to me after maybe a few weeks after, and I go, so what's that there? And he goes, those are speakers, strange looking speakers, and those are big amplifiers. So what are amplifiers? What are preamps? This guy spent the time, many days and many weeks, and loaned me products after buying $300. Having that approach, I saved up for the next summer. Got a part-time job teaching tennis. I was getting paid decent money. I saved up first $5,000 to go in that place, had it in cash. I'm ready to buy. Yeah. And he gave me an experience, and I had an aspirational product that I purchased. We're calf dealers, by the way, too. So I had this aspirational product that I had, and after that, I got the bug. And then from then on, it was a hobby. I couldn't afford it anymore. I go, I have to get another job, and I have to get another job. I mean, this is costing as much as a Ferrari, or pretty soon it can cost in the millions. It really can go to that extent. You can, now that you have Dolby Atmos, and I like watching movies, and I want to watch it the best I can, I mean, you can go pretty crazy and buy $200,000 amplifiers to power one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm crazy that way. So I said, the only way for me to cut the bug is really to get into the business. So now I have the opportunity to be able to mix and match the best of the best for different price points.
You're just doing it to get wholesale pricing. Was I the only one thinking that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Wholesale pricing,
Thank
there you
you.
go. That was a great one. I like that one. And that was the end of that one. That's why I'm here.
I think the thing that motivates me the most is the fact that we have a very different approach to doing what we do from like a design standpoint and manufacturing standpoint than a lot of our competition does. And I just kind of like being the guy who tries to do something different, and so far it's paid off, and it's very rewarding. And at the same time, I mean, I think that we'll all agree, there's a lot of money to be made in high-end audio, and that's very attractive as well, and feeling pretty good about it.
And I don't think I've ever even introduced myself. I'm Stephen Rochlin with EnjoyTheMusic.com. Many great points, and I relate to so many of them from when I was young and I finally had enough money, and Dad said, okay, go to the store and pick out a couple things. And he trusted me that I knew enough and did a reading. And my first experience with a high-end store was not pleasant. And actually came home kind of crying because I'd worked so hard to get all this money up. And Dad said, well, just go again. And I found this great salesman who helped educate me. And back then, the thing to have for reasonable money was the Boston Acoustic BA-40s. Those old enough to remember, those were. And it's funny because over time, and he took me one day to the big room, and they had these speakers called KEF 104.2s, and I'm hooked up to Nakamichi Dragon, and I'm sorry I'm dating myself, but can you imagine, and he turns it up, and I'm sitting there listening to this. And if you ever see the movie Ruthless People, where the guy puts on and the guy's in his eyes, and I felt the same way, and it's funny because later in life, I wound up owning a pair of KEF 104.2s. So and on Facebook recently, getting to the young kids, one of the young kids on my Facebook page was like, what are you hoping to see at Rocky Mountain? And my answer was, all the great guys and gals. This has become, it's a hobby, it's a family, it's an experience, and it's an experience just as we need to share this experience with the younger generation, the young guns of hi-fi, because they might think that their iPod with the stock earbuds is as good as it gets, or maybe certain headphones that are marketed very well. But when we share this experience and they realize, like many of you said here, the first time they said, wow, I experienced that, it sounds much better then. It's that little acorn or seed of knowledge that builds from there. So next question. Yes, we have one from a gentleman back here, and I'm going to try not to.
Okay, so going off what you just said, with the people with the iPods and the stock earbuds thinking, it's as good as it gets, and hi-fi stores they seem to be, so much more popular. In the 70s and 80s, you would go and you would hear things firsthand. How do you get that firsthand experience with high-end audio into to more new people and expand your markets?
Audio shows.
Beer listening sessions.
Well, I put up the store primarily so I could have some of my friends who's not into high-end audio and make that into a place to hang out. And you three gentlemen have hung out at that store in Chicago. A lot of them have the budget, but they're just not into it because they have not had the experience, the visceral experience that you could have with headphones. And it's great that we have headphone manufacturers, speaker manufacturers around, because they can get into what we have as a business, whether they're going to buy a headphone or a pair of speakers, depending on the location where they live and how it's going to be applied, and again, whether they're going to get into analog or digital. And of course, we have car audio, which is something we shouldn't forget too, because I do listen when I'm in the car. And to grow it, and we work with a manufacturer, and what they do to cross-market is they put that brand in vehicles and they cross-market with exotic vehicles. So what we do is we do events with these car manufacturers and car dealerships, and a lot of these guys are saying, what this particular brand is, we've never heard of it. So now we have the opportunity to explain to people to get into the hobby and invite them to the store and experience and hopefully educate them and hopefully sell them either an aspirational product from a $300 or $500 pair of speakers and inexpensive amp for $500, and then they'll come back and they say, so what's the difference between this price point and what's the difference between that and this $30,000 or $40,000 amp? Well, it's hard to justify just being a salesman. You have to be able to have them sit down and listen and take out that amp, take out that speaker. That's why it's important for us dealers to have a lot of the products in stock, unless we are hired by the client to consult, and they give us an X amount of budget, whether it's $10,000 or $100,000 or $250,000, to give them the best. And sometimes we earn that trust by certain client base, and they're very busy. They're either a physician or they're business people. Okay, this is our budget. We trust your ears. What's something that you would do for your home that we can do for us? And that's how we're trying to grow the market, is cross-marketing either with vehicles. We've done stuff with fashion brands in California, in Beverly Hills. We're going to display our product in a wine store, and it becomes a conversation piece. Now the owner of the wine store will go, what's that over there? And what are we listening to? That sounds great. Talk to Arnold. He's having wine over there. He'll tell you all about this. And I think us dealers, and that's our job obviously, for the manufacturers, is to grow the market. And that's a great question. We should grow it. There's a lot more opportunity out there. Just like the headphone has really boomed because of these phones.
You
and
clued
other
into
sources.
something really, probably one of the most important questions in this industry right
Yeah.
now. And Arnold made a good point in that the dealers are having a tough time because it's weird. It's kind of like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of situation, because you've got dealers who've been in business for 10, 15, 20 years. or more than that, and they've been used to doing business the same way. And the industry is changing rapidly. All this new technology is coming out too fast for these people to be able to remarket themselves and change and adjust and be able to cater to what's going on. So that's why you have a lot of dealers doing these partnerships to try and get more different types of interests and, you know, new business, drumming up new business. From a manufacturer's perspective, it's twofold. There are people that are doing their research. I'm sure all of you have done research online about anything that you've wanted to buy. And how long have you, searched on the internet before you've actually decided to make a decision on something? With HiFi, regardless of the cost, you want to hear it and you want to listen to it and you want to experience it. So from a manufacturer's perspective, we're trying to close that loop from interest to where to buy. And so all the manufacturers really need to get better at that because, the most important part and the most, the highest clicked link on our website is where to buy, where to buy, where to buy. So manufacturers need to do a better job pushing people to the dealers, but dealers also need to do a better job marketing themselves.
Totally agree.
And, like a lot of our dealers are so old school, they don't even, I have to talk them into getting a website. And once they get a website, how do you update that if you move and if you changed your phone number? And I'm serious.
When
And
new products come in.
you guys
Right.
laugh, but it's true. But it's
true.
it's tough because it's a web world now, and you can't teach that. It's really hard to teach that. So that's the thing. I think the more we can push consumers out to actually experience the product, that's when and once they get there, have a positive experience. Because how many of you in this room have had a not so positive experience at a hi-fi shop, right? But you're still like, way to go. So that's my take on that.
Okay, next question.
Can I ask
Oh,
a
wait,
question
sorry.
real quick? Oh, yes. I'm
do that.
sorry. I just want to know what, after you guys answer that, after she asks the question, I just want to know what motivated all of you to come in to this room.
Matt was going to beat me up if I didn't come.
Okay, got it.
Accurate, pretty much.
What is everybody-
With his tone arm.
It's all about community.
Jersey boy.
Steve.
So my question is, I'm second generation also, and I'm eternally grateful that my parents never kept their system precious. And so I've made a big effort in my daughter's lives to not keep the system precious. I have a 9-year-old that could cue a record at 6. I'm like, yeah.
Awesome.
So I wanted to know what you guys thought we could do as enthusiasts, whether we're professionals in the industry or hobbyists, what we can do individually to help grow the club.
Well, that I'm going to just jump on to just share. I went to an event a while back, and essentially the better half of the guy that was getting the table, his girlfriend went to go check it out. I was like, no, and then she got to play with it. And it was like, oh my God, this is the first time I just queued up a record. And then she decided that she really likes that turntable. And it just went from there. I feel the same way. I grew up going to sleep to Belafonte. And my dad played the system. I'll go over there and listen to whatever record it was. And even though I didn't know it at the time, it was just inherently making me very comfortable and very excited to do this stuff. And I think there's a lot of what I think would be great is when you see somebody. Actually, recently I was talking to a new potential customer, and they said, "Well, what do I do with my old rig?" And I said, "Well, actually, if you want to do something great, find someone who doesn't have a turntable and give it to them. Or if you really need some money, give them the absolute dirt price that you can come up with, just so they can have an experience." And I think that's what we need to share. We need to, if you have your friends come over, don't do what you usually do. Just listen to music and appreciate each other for a bit.
Well, I'll run up front and answer that as well. One thing I did when I lived in Gainesville, now I used to work with audiologists, I was as I got geekier and older, I started looking at the scientific reasons and the engineering and the way humans, I studied a lot of human hearing and dynamics. And I would do things, I actually had a live end, dead end room. It looked hideous visually, but sound-wise, I would start doing experiments by changing certain things. I can't get into details, sorry, because there's some technologies I'm still, but that, you know, I would invite, and this was a college town, Gainesville, Florida. So I'd invite the college kids to just come over, sit in a chair, and listen to Pink Floyd The Wall, or listen to this. And I would just get, you know, what's your impression of this? So I would basically, besides it being an open lab and I'm using college kids as guinea pigs, at the same time I was turning them on, and hopefully, and I've heard from one or two of them online how, you know, after coming to your house a few times and listening to your, I started trying to learn more about high-end audio. And 21 years ago, when not many people heard the internet, I was people were asking me about high-end audio, and I decided to start a website called Enjoy the Music. And just because I was answering so many of the same questions, it was easier to just start a website. And that's, you know, how to share. Now, there was a recent study sponsored by Apple, you might have heard of that small computer company, and Sonos, about listening out loud. And they found in their study, and you can look up online, there's Listening Out Loud, Apple, Sonos, that people who listen to music out loud tend to be happier. If you're a married or single person and have a significant other, there seems to be more, put it discreetly, more physical, more fun as a couple together. So there is something with having a really nice, you know, listening to music that sounds really great, that affects us as the human species to have a more positive life experience, I guess, in general, as we'll call it. So there's something here besides the camaraderie and friendship we have that is also bringing us together. So that's my 2 cents.
There's this really cool documentary coming out called The Art of Listening. Has anybody heard of this yet? It's going to be coming out at Sundance, I think in December. And it's beautiful. It's beautifully shot. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek clip of it. But it's starting from, you know, a guy who manufactures guitars by hand, and going to the musician and how they manipulate that instrument to sound how they want it, going, you know, the next step to, you know, recording, the next step to mastering, down to, you know, actually putting that on some sort of media, down to the people listening to it. And it gives like a in-depth look at each stage of that. And it's just the most beautiful answer to the whole thing that we do. And so to answer your question, you know, also I think not only sharing music, but even if, you know, teaching kids how to play an instrument, I find that a lot, even that's kind of going by the wayside nowadays. I am seeing more kids getting involved with playing stringed instruments like cello and violin, but you know, like School of Rock is a big thing now. You know, throwing these kids an electric guitar and playing together, and that's another thing that I think we need more of too.
How much time do we have? I wanted to answer your question about what brought people into this. The young guns of hi-fi is synonymous with like kind of rebellion and difference, and, you know, doing things differently. What do you think each of you do that's different and is kind of against the grain, or trying to keep this going in a different way, or change things?
Great question.
How are you kind of
That's a hard
disrupting?
question.
We're crazy.
Yeah. We'll start with Brannan first, since everything's gone from.
Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, obviously, like, the use of materials for us and different materials is something that, you know, we're really kind of pushing things along in our industry. We've seen a lot of other companies, you know, start to use materials after we've kind of introduced them and things like that. And you know, the way that our product line works is that we have, I think, seven different models, and each model is available in both a generic kind of off-the-shelf fit version and then a custom fit version. And so at the shows we demo all the generic fit stuff so everyone can hear them. And this year has been a big product year because all of our stuff is now being manufactured out of aluminum. And aluminum itself is not really a particularly exotic material, but the way that we've approached aluminum is through machining. We like to apply certain textures and finishes and colors and things like that, and it's something that's very different. So we like to call it like creative aluminum, and that's kind of something that we're doing that's very different.
Warren?
I mean, I guess for some of us, our very existence pretty much changes the equation a little bit, right? For instance, we have absolutely no interest in designing amps for speakers. Not because we don't terribly like speakers, but we just wouldn't be good at it. There are plenty of people better than us that will always be better than us. But we do small signal amplification exceedingly well, so that's what we're going to focus on. It's mainly, I don't want to say this in a way that sounds bad. We want people to hear good sound, or ideally great sound, however they can. And it doesn't matter what the transducer is, and it doesn't really even matter if it's with our products. I mean, we routinely recommend competitors' products if we think they'll enjoy them better. We just want people to hear that sound that they cannot unhear. Because if we do that, they live a better life, and we all win. It's a win-win for everybody. Why would we not want that? Why would any of us not want that? So it's placing that at the heart of what we do, right? I mean, sure, when we sell a product, we make some money, but that's not really, that's not why you do it. That's not why you wake up. That's not what keeps you going when you've been awake for 72 hours and you're dealing with some ungodly troubles at a show.
Whatever could you be talking about?
No idea. We get it. Leif, do you want to?
Me?
For us? We'll go to Matt then. Briefly, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. Briefly. Social media. Doing different avenues. When I first posted on Facebook, I got a lot of resistance. Said, no, it doesn't do anything. We sold 10 classic 3s in Rosewood because of Facebook. Who else would have done that? Or rather, who thinks of doing that? I like the idea of. I'm trying to rush it. We did a 3D printed tone arm, doing something different. We tried to make a brand that you can grow with. I like the idea of everyone being part of the family, and you start with a Scout, you grow up with a Prime signature, and that you have stepping stones and you can grow as you go along. But the big thing is, I've been looking at relationships and collaborations that are different. We actually I'm dancing around a big one that I really just want to say, but I can't yet. But we got into a partnership that most people probably would have said, "You do what? You want to do what with us? Oh, get the hell out!" And in the idea of trying different ways to share and expand that musical story. It's the best way I could say it without saying something bad.
And real quick, I think being unconventional in everything that we do, not looking at what everyone else is doing, paying attention to the interests that, of people, we do. But I think on October 14th, we're announcing a pretty big thing that I think is going to change the direction of
Tell us
KEF.
a little bit about it now, right?
Cannot do it. Cannot do it. But I think it's one of the most important things that KEF has ever done, and is going to take us into certainly the world of unconventional.
Yeah.
So that's it.
And I guess
I can leak that my thing, it's a turntable.
no.
In case you weren't sure.
Your original question. Why don't you just say it again, just because I just want to make sure I answer it pretty precisely. So whether rebellious. Against the grain. For myself, what I've done is when everyone was, looking at the internet, didn't even know what it was, or print magazines were kind of judging us, I kept, show reports that same day. Then digital media with cameras. Myself with development work, Enjoy the Music. First WAP site before you even had a browser on a phone. The only one still to this day, I don't know why, customized web browser for audio files. We have over 130 reports online. I was the first to live stream with a professional TV studio. What else am I doing to disrupt? I'm still doing certain things to keep disrupting, but at some point I have to stop losing money to you guys. I don't want to tell you how much money I've lost. And I don't mind because I have other interests that keep me in the way I like living. But there's so much more in general I feel that this industry can do to disrupt and to really reach the influencers that are out there, whether they're on Twitch, whether they're on, there's so much untapped things that we as an industry haven't done. And that's something I wanted to do with the URL hiendaudio.com and have us have an industry organization. And I had certain goals and ideas, but I'm not going to self-fund anymore. I'm tired of losing millions of dollars, sorry. And I'd love to keep going. Frankly, the website hiendaudio.com is for sale. I want these guys to do more development work and more disrupting. And we've come a long way as an industry, and we really are. But like any technology, or anything, there's always a long way to go. Maybe that's just me because I'm so demanding on myself. So maybe I owe you guys an apology in some ways. But the way I see the future, man, there's so much we could do.
Together.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely together.
Always together.
Oh, you know
Like
it,
this
baby.
this release that we're doing on the 14th we're probably gonna get shit for it. But it's like when you believe in something, sometimes you got to take the leap.
No, that's true.
So you just got to do it.
I guess there's one more question in the back. Let me run so that we have you mic'd up so it comes through on the video correctly.
Yeah, the reason I'm here is I've started a small consulting business in my community to get more people into the club, and I've been struggling with getting people to. I have people over to my house. I try to do weekly music nights and movie nights, and people, have a great time, but people don't really want to spend the money. And a couple ideas. A good friend of mine came over once recently, and he just felt healed listening to my stereo system. And so that's an approach I'm going to start to take, is the healing power of music. And a lot of people have come to realize how important the quality of the food we eat, for instance, the quality of the air we breathe, the quality of the water we drink is important to our healing and our health. So I'm going to start taking that approach in the community where I live to let people know the quality of music we listen to is also important to our health. And because where I live, there's a lot of live music, and people love it, but they're not spending the money on the the quality of the music they listen to at home. So I'm going to that's one area I'm going to start using to help promote high quality music. And also an idea I got was education. We need to start in the schools. And I met with our local music teacher, and he had the same idea. So he was a way to approach it, he was going to do in our local museum the history of music. And then, of course, the modern history of music would be reproduced music. So I said I'd be very interested in doing a room where we have a high-end room where people can actually hear a modern high-end stereo and see how it makes them feel and hear. So it's just I thought that was a great way to get in the schools and get kids. So that's where we, as an industry, I think, need to start. Like any industry, we need to educate the kids in the schools. So,
cool.
Anyways.
Thank you very much. And I guess that about wraps things up. Really, thank you everyone for coming and attending our seminar. I'd like to thank Stephanie, Matt, Leif, Warren, Arnold, and of course this guy. Well, I know that. Thank you for coming, really.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you, everyone.